Over the past few years, Polaroid has seen a resurgence in the popularity of zero-ink thermal printers. It's using the same concept as instant cameras, where all of the ink and the crystals are embedded onto the photo itself, and all the printer is doing is heating it up to produce the image. As a result, the size of the printer is really compact, small, and it acts as a smart companion when using Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to your smartphone. Hey folks, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of another competitor to something like a zero-ink printer. This is called the MEMOBIRD, and it's the G2. It's a second generation model of the unit. It's not quite as complicated and as fancy as a true Polaroid Z-ink printer because it's just using thermal printer, so it's the same concept that you'll find on receipts that many cashiers may have in stores. If you've observed those before, they often don't have a traditional ink cartridge, but instead they just have a roll of paper, and the paper itself, just like a fax machine, is heated up to produce the lines of text. So it's very interesting. Here we have the same concept but applied to a smart form, so it's compact, it's small, and you can connect it using Bluetooth to your smartphone and not only send, of course, words, but print out full images as well as doodles and drawings in this case. So it's a pretty neat little gift idea and a creative one at that. So the price of the G2 retails for under $40, so it's also significantly lower cost than the aforementioned Polaroid Zip or zero-ink printers that we've seen. So it's going to be a good option if you are looking for something neat, perhaps as a stocking stuffer in this holiday season, and you probably won't need something that gives you full color in terms of your images. This will print out black and white photos, for instance. And the photos themselves can also be used as a sticker and attached onto refrigerators and other surfaces. You can see that everything here is documented in Chinese, but the app itself does have an English overall menu interface, so it's still fairly easy to get used to. You can, again, send images to the printer using your phone. You can doodle on them, write notes, and print them out, and then save them on the cloud. So pretty interesting in terms of what it's claiming to do. Now, the G1 itself versus the G2, there's not really a huge difference in terms of functionality. The only real difference that I found was from a design perspective. The G2 looks a little bit more elegant with its rounded corners compared to the first generation that looks more like a traditional printer, which doesn't look quite as cute. So here we have quick instruction manual, so it tells us to download the app or connect it to power and then actually turn on Wi-Fi. Down below here we just have the G2 by MEMOBIRD, and we'll take a closer look at that in a second. And then there's the power brick. The power adapter is using a standard micro USB, so you can use any existing lead as well to provide some power for it, and it is again branded by MEMOBIRD. Alright, so the printer itself is indeed very small and compact. As aforementioned, really it's the design that, for me at least, makes it look a bit more cute and attractive. It reminds me kind of like a Fujifilm Mini 8, one of those instant cameras, and how it has really funky, vibrant colors and polycarbonate plastic. For sure, it looks like something that is just waiting to be popped onto a display window on some type of boutique or artisan store as you're walking by. But again, the price of only $40 is quite low cost. So here we have the MemoPad logo, and this is again where the, of course, paper can be printed out from, and you rip it off using these prongs. And then on the back here is where the power micro USB is inputted. There's a few rubber feet that prevents it from sliding around on a surface or a desk. Plugging into power, you can see there's also a status indication light on the bottom that acts as a dedicated power switch. What's interesting is that immediately it printed out a really quick message, and the first message that it's printed out is essentially additional instructions that reiterate how to set it up. So you download the app from the store. It's just called MEMOBIRD, and afterwards you turn on Wi-Fi on your phone, and then this is a QR code that specifically binds this printer to the app. So it's quite interesting. We have connected successfully, and you can see I've already printed out my first doodle, which is a simple hi. You can see that actually the contrast as well as the overall image is displayed quite cleanly. There's also an additional mode. If you can connect it directly using password, which is 12345678890, by binding it directly inside of your Wi-Fi settings if you don't want to scan the QR code and go through that process. There's two ways to connect it, and then the status light will be blue when it's being connected in the direct Wi-Fi mode. All right, so let's peel this off and take a look at some other things that we can try using this app. The interface here is quite clean, so it just gives me my home screen here that says My MEMOPAD. On the top here, it says that you don't have any additional messages. You can actually add friends if they have a similar account, and you can connect with them, and they can send you messages over the internet, which is really interesting. So it's almost like a modern-day fax machine. If your friend is connected to you, they can send you a message like, "Wish you luck on the upcoming exam," and it's going to print out. So it's very cool. You'll find the message when you come back to your room. And then on here is your history button, so we can see what local as well as online notes that we've downloaded and printed out, so it's going to be time-stamped as well. You can see all the icons and animations are very colorful, and it matches the overall design language of the MEMOPAD really well. So as a whole, it's quite cohesive. Back to taking a look at what things we can print out, there's actually quite a few options. In terms of text, we are able to write something very quickly. So for instance, this is a test, and you can see that it works pretty well. We can also try a different line of text as well. So for quick notes, maybe if you're reading a book or something, this would work quite well. And you can also change the font size even, so it allows you to play around with that. Let's highlight this and make the font larger, make it smaller, and we can also make it bold. We can realign it, and we can tap on print. So you can see it's fairly quick and instantaneous. There's not too much delay since we're using direct Wi-Fi. And there is a little bit of background noise, so it's not completely silent. That's something to quickly, I guess, keep in mind. Otherwise, you can tell that there is a logo that's a MEMOBIRD Printer at the bottom, so it's not a completely clean printout. There's also a date stamp on the top. You can kind of play around with the settings to see if you can remove parts of these, but that's just kind of what the default layout is like. Again, these printouts are fairly small just because it's the size of what is similar to a receipt in terms of the width. So it's not just like the Polaroid zip printers that we talked about. They are small printouts. They're not going to be full-sized images. Otherwise, because it's using just traditional thermal printer like any, again, receipt printer, that's the beauty of it, that replacing the paper itself is very low cost. You can get a roll that's quite long and very cheap as well online. So it doesn't require additional proprietary costs like the Z-Ink printers do, where the paper itself is quite expensive since it's in full color and proprietary. All right, so next we can also take a look at some other things that we can do, such as not only doodle, but assets, for instance. There's quite a few kind of built-in emojis and kind of cute animations that you can use to send a quick expression that conveys what you're thinking. And they're kind of in this 8-bit format as well. So I've sent a few kind of expressions, and we can preview it. This is what the overall printout will look like. So this is a kind of interesting way to check that out. And I can also print it out, and indeed compared to the real thing, you can see that the quality is very similar. So pulling this out, you can see this is the quality of the images. So pretty good. Of course, you can also send your own images if you don't want to use these emojis. So going back again, we can tap on image, and we can either take a photo or go to our album. So let's say take a photo and do something meta, taking an image of the MEMOBIRD and then printing it out on the MEMOBIRD. So, all right, let's take that image, say yes, and this is a preview of what the image is going to be like. You can tell that it's definitely not really high quality, and now it's going to take a little bit longer to print since it has more detail, but it's still relatively quick, and you can still decipher, overall what you're looking at. So again, now you have an image of the MEMOBIRD printed by the MEMOBIRD. So pretty interesting. Black and white shots, of course, if done correctly, can be used as an effect to produce more artistic compositions. So certain portraits, certain lighting, objects actually may seem pretty interesting under this environment. You can also crop your photos as well before you print them out. You can also add filters. You can doodle over these images, which is very interesting. And you can also change the thickness of the text, things like that. So there's a lot of things that you can customize, and the app itself feels actually quite complete, despite the fact that the printer, again, is very low cost. I can also rotate the image if I want to, so this probably will give me a larger printout. Let's see how that works. So there we go. You can see that, again, it's actually not that much larger, it's just rotated, but this is what the quality of the image is like. So not outstanding, but definitely something that's good enough for playing, for pinning onto the wall, for a dorm, for something to really quickly share on a fridge with friends and family. That's really the purpose of this MEMOBIRD, and again, the price should suggest that already. Otherwise, there's also features for you to pin specific news as well as articles from the web. So you can pick articles and quick feed RSS feeds and then print those out, and of course document that as well. So there's again a lot of different uses, and it does best with text, but images, again, as you can see there, also do tend to work fairly well as long as you know that it's in black and white and it's not going to be quite HD quality. So that's been the MEMOBIRD G2. I would say that the differences between this and the G1 in terms of performance and the concept isn't huge, but it does have a cuter and more compact form factor. It has better color choices as well that matches the app a little bit more. The fact that it has two modes, direct Wi-Fi connection and cloud mode, where it is connected to the internet itself, and then anyone adding you as a friend is able to access the printer and give you messages, is an incredibly cool concept at this low price. It almost becomes, again, like the modern fax machine or the modern physical bulletin board. So the concept of this thing is quite interesting. And again, as a mini printer or a thermal printer that doesn't really use ink, I think it's a smart concept and a smart kind of reinvention of what a receipt printer can do. So definitely a very cool little gadget. And if you have the $40 to spare, definitely something that I would consider picking up, especially in this holiday season. So thanks for watching this video here at OS Reviews. This has been the MEMOBIRD G2 Thermal Smart Printer.